Hey everybody, imagine you're about to embark on the FedNow Instant Payments grand journey, going where no payments have gone before. Okay, really payments going faster than they've ever gone before. Well, for this expedition, you're not going to be alone. You have two key guides provided by the Fed. These are guides from the Fed. You also have service providers probably helping you along the way too. First, you have what we call a FedNow Onboarding Manager, or an OBM. Think of the OBM as your mountain guide who knows every twist, every turn of the FedNow terrain. The OBM, the Onboarding Manager, they ensure you don't face any hitches and will keep your spirits high throughout the climb and the onboarding process. They're your go-to with all the answers. They're a go-to person for all the queries, the go-to person to make sure every member of your expedition, everybody on your team, is in sync and has what they need to keep moving forward. Then there's the AE, the account executive. The AE is like the seasoned captain of a ship. They navigate the vast seas of relationship management. They're the compass. They are the insurance of timing and that everything's off. They're the overseers to see that everything's taking place the way it needs to be done. They also will introduce you to other resources on your voyage, ensuring smooth sailing along the FedNow seas. They are really just overseeing and making sure you have all the resources and answers you need from the Fed. So when working with an AE and an OBM, an account executive, and an onboarding manager from the Fed, you're ready to take on the onboarding pathway. With the onboarding pathway, what's next is really, it's time to get on board. They're there to help you from the Fed. You're going to have people from your service provider too. So first thing you want to do is your pre-journey preparations. Set up your base kit before the hike. What do you do here? You identify who's coming. That's getting your key people involved. It's checking to make sure you have the right equipment, the right connection type. It's mapping out what you're going to do. It's having the routing number or numbers that you're going to be using. It's collecting all of that information to make sure that you're going to be ready and set to fill out the correct paperwork, to provide the correct forms that are necessary for getting on board to the FedNow Service, whether it's Appendix A or Appendix B of Operating Circular 8, you're going to get it all done. This is the getting a plan in place stage so you can move on to the setup and configuration. This is where you're laying the tracks for your train to run smoothly on the FedNow Service. You're going to set up your technical toolbox. You're going to ensure your connection parties, connection points are in place, that your profile is in place, that your authorized connection profile is in place. Then you're going to test access. You're going to, do the dress rehearsal to make sure everything works. And once everything is in place, you still want to run a simulation to ensure actual performance by making sure all of the messages can be sent and be received as expected. Then it's time for a final check. Let's do one more look over and make sure that we have all the equipment in place, making sure every tiny detail from every form's been set out, going through the checklist, that all the messaging's ready to work and it's been tested. And we put you over in the production area and you go live. All of this preparation has led to you being able to go fully live on the FedNow network with a team of people there to be able to help you. From having the account executives, the onboarding manager, even your service provider. And there's different ways that you're going to be connecting. Think of them like you. There's going to be the flavors of ice cream. It's like, the homemade ice cream. You make it and do it all yourself. You want to do that, you can do that. Or you can go through a service provider. That's like buying ice cream from a vendor, a famous one in town. You trust their recipe and you serve it up to others, but they work with you to make it work. Or there can be a mixture of both. And that's where, you're basically making a sundae using both the homemade ice cream and the store-bought to be able to give it some flexibility, a little bit of uniqueness in how you're doing things. I know I have some weird analogies, but hey, they work for me. And I hope they work for you too. What about some sample scenarios that are a little bit better? Let's go back to our hiking adventure. You could go solo. You can be the solo hiker, which means you're connecting directly. You're going at this alone. You don't need a service provider or a correspondent. You got this figured out. Your financial institution works directly with the Fed. You get everything done on your own. Except you still have the account executive and onboarding manager. They're there with you. Yep, they're still going to be there no matter which choice you make. They'll guide you through to ensure that everything you need is in order. So if you want to go it alone as a financial institution, that's an option. That's a way to connect and get going. There's also the joining the caravan and using a service provider. Here, you join a group led by an experienced team, a service provider, with an established connection, and the caravan, the service provider, they've already been on this trail multiple times, and they handle all the logistics. but you still need to be aware of your role in the journey. You will still have an account executive, and you will still have an onboarding manager to help you. And finally, there is another option, which is basically a caravan with a personal guide. Imagine going on a caravan and having a personal guide to ensure all your needs are met. And this is where your service provider works with maybe a correspondent to be able to help everything get taken care of for you, so that basically you have a service provider, which could be the correspondent or different, that they help you with the managing of your account, and they help you with the connection to FedNow too. So service providers, correspondents, however you choose to do it, everybody's going to be working hand in hand with the Fed to get on board. What do you need to know? What do you need to prepare? You're going to want the onboarding checklist. There's an onboarding checklist from the Fed. There's an onboarding checklist. I know that as a service provider, we provide too. You'll want to make sure you get all the right people involved. You'll want to make sure that you do the technical preparations that are required from your end. So get your IT people involved too. You want to talk with other third-party vendors and definitely your core to see if there's any considerations for how connections and movement and reporting is going to take place. In constant communication, it's really going to be important. That's constant communication with the FedNow team, if you're going alone, with your service providers and the FedNow team if you're working with those. So in conclusion, an onboarding manager and an account executive, they're essential guides on assisting you through the onboarding journey. Those are the guides that you get with the Fed. Then there's also the service provider, totally separate, that you can work with. But you got to do all of this to make sure that you get the connection type, the connection configurations, the checklist filled out, the paperwork, everything done so that you're able to move on. We talked about it a lot, AEs, OBMs, the onboarding checklist. Now it's up to you to learn more about instant payments. The professor is here to help with that if you need to learn more about the different types of instant payments that are out there. Get engaged with your team, get engaged with your service provider, get engaged with the Fed reps, and prepare for getting on board. Complete onboarding and go live. And hopefully this class, this course, has helped to demystify the process of FedNow onboarding. Onboarding to the FedNow network, I think it's an exciting journey. It's a memorable adventure that you only got to do once with the right guidance and the right preparation. If you do it all right, and you'll get there, you'll be online processing instant payments faster than I can say, class dismissed.